We'll get to it early today. It's time for the crossover with Don Taylor and Rick Dhali. Not our normal Brady Bunch entrance for the crossover. That's a special Dune-themed entrance, a Lisan Al-Gaib themed entrance for you, Rick.
Rick doesn't want to do it anymore, though. He says there's too much news. So we should get on the same page, me and Dom, sometimes. Sorry about that, Rick.
Hold it a second. Don, have you seen Dune?
You know what? I saw the original Dune with Kyle MacLachlan. I haven't seen the two latest Dunes. Everybody says they're fabulous. I know. Especially the second one. Apparently the second one's better than the first one.
I thought the first one was better, but I liked the second one as well.
Okay.
They're both good. They're both good.
But so Thomas uses Thomas. Where this is coming from, Donnie, is Thomas uses a lot of stupid words in his hockey tweets. No one else does it. Mm. And last night he used a Lisan Gabe. Is it Gabe? What is it? How do you pronounce it, Thomas?
Lisan Al-Gaib.
Lisan Gaib? Yeah, so I don't know who Lisan Gaib is. So explain, Thomas, why you can't just say beautiful goal by Connor McDavid. You got to throw in Lisan Gaib. Why?
Well, no,
why?
The Lisan Al-Gaib, the Lisan Al-Gaib is the Messiah. Yeah. And if you set up a Corey Perry rush goal, you must be the Messiah. That's the point. It's like, wow, this guy's so good that he can set up Corey Perry off the rush. That's the point. It's a pretty standard cultural reference, Rick.
So if Donnie and I are tweeting about the Connor McDavid goal last night, here's how it goes. Beautiful goal by Connor McDavid.
Yeah, that's as good as it gets from us.
But Thomas wants everybody to think he went to Harvard, so he uses all these stupid words, and no one else in hockey uses them, Thomas. Nobody.
Sorry,
nobody.
Going to Harvard, I just want everyone to know I bought a ticket to see Dune 2. Come on.
Well,
Rick, you got to start making some 80s music references in your tweets. Mix those in when you're talking about Connor McDavid.
Now we're talking.
Play to your strengths.
Mad Max, Beyond Thunderdome. Donnie, do you remember Mel Gibson and Mad Max?
Oh, yeah.
Well, that was the first really good movie like that.
But the new ones are good, too, along with the new Dunes, apparently.
All right.
Okay, well, we're starting off on the right foot here on a day, as you said, Rick, with lots of news happening, both for the Canucks around the NHL. Let's start with the Canucks, and of course, the news yesterday: Filip Hronek signing an 8-year deal, 7.25 AAV, and I think we can debate the price point and the term and all of that. You know, should he drive his own pair? The biggest thing for me is that they got this deal done well before July 1st, and now maybe some other dominoes can start to fall for the Canucks.
Yeah, so now they have a better roadmap as it were going into July 1st. And as far as the deal itself and Filip Hronek, can he drive his own pair? That remains to be seen. I think I'm fair in saying that. But how many years, how much time went by with the Canucks, with their fan base talking about they got to find a right-handed defenseman in the wake of losing Chris Tanev? You could look at that as a mistake. You know, that took a while. They've got one at 26 years old. And our poll today, bore this out that people think this is a pretty good deal, especially given the age. And the fact that it lines up, and this was talked about on our show as well, it lines up with Devon Toews and what he's getting pairing alongside of Cale Makar in Colorado. So I think it makes a lot of sense for the Canucks, although some people do wonder about what happened later in the season with Filip Hronek and the drop-off statistically.
Love this. Really good number, and it's not the number the agent floated in the market through a national broadcaster, which was $8 million. The Canucks' first offer was in the high sixes. You can live with 7.2. I think it's a fair number. Very good deal. First pair right shot D. Quinn Hughes has got his partner. Now you don't have to spend any time looking for a partner for Quinn Hughes. You got him locked up long term. You avoid arbitration. That's a win-win. Hughes and Hronek are going to make $15 million. That's another win-win. That's not bad when you think of it. And if you would have traded Hronek, and I said this last week, guys, there were rumors, they're going to trade him. The object was always to re-sign this guy. I know the trade stuff came up, but the number one objective in the Canucks office was always to re-sign this guy. Because if you do trade him, then you got to go to July 1st. And guess what you do on July 1st? Like all teams do, you massively overpay. He's 26 years old. Take a look at Slavin in Carolina. The rumor is the Hurricanes are going to sign him at the age of 31 for 8 years. That guy's going to be 39 at the end of that contract. I know he's a good defenseman, but this guy's 26. You can live with 8 years when you're signing a guy that's 26 and is entering the prime years of his deal. This was a really good deal by the Canucks. I think they got it done a little bit later than everybody wanted to get it done. Bottom line, it's done.
See, I think they got it done pretty early given the arbitration eligibility. I mean, those deals often go into July. Sometimes August, depending on when the hearing is, given just the dynamics of player leverage. I think it's a good outcome given how unique Hronek's leverage was. I think that reflects Hronek's desire to stay in the market. I do think it's a fair deal more than it's a team-friendly deal, right? I mean, you bring up Slavin in the term there, but also Slavin at 6.5. I mean, that's a guy we know can drive a first pair, right? I think the question that the Canucks ask themselves in regards to Hronek driving a pair is, I think they think he can do more in terms of sort of guiding the club through transition, handling the puck a little more. And I think with Quinn Hughes, a lot of it is pass the puck to Quinn Hughes and let the man cook, get out of the way. You know, I don't think finding another partner for Quinn Hughes, continuing to upgrade this defense, those are still organizational priorities, as I understand it, so much as, and it's not so much about whether or not Hronek can drive his own pair. It's that the organization would kind of like to give him the opportunity to, because in the role that he's in, he fits perfectly. There's unique chemistry there, but it does sort of take some responsibility off the table in terms of driving offensively for Hronek. I think the club's more eager to challenge him to do it in the context of continuing to upgrade their defense core than they are to, sort of like space it out just for the sake of it. Right. I think it's more about challenging Hronek and getting more out of him, which I think the club is interested to see, but obviously no one really knows, given that we saw it for like 4 games all of last year.
You'd like to see it at some point.
A big disappointment, though, Thomas, if I may, guys, a big disappointment in that Filip seemed happy today. And I was hoping maybe he was unhappy with the contract so we could see a repeat or something like we saw during his postseason press conference. That was fun, that exchange with Jeff Patterson. I wanted to see more of that, so major disappointment. But other than that, I think most Vancouver hockey fans are pretty happy today.
Well, Donnie,
like
I was going to say
yes.
Congratulations to you, Donnie, on 8 more years of Filip Hronek press conferences, because I know how much you enjoyed the last one. And you got to think, if he's going to be happy during any time talking to the media, it's going to be right after he signs an 8-year deal at 7.25. So maybe you'll get grumpy Hronek later.
There you go. January, it's been raining for 2 months straight. Yeah, that and they've lost 10 straight. That's the Filip Hronek I want to see.
Yes.
So,
go ahead, Drance.
Sorry,
Thomas wants
Rick,
to talk about Dune.
I think when we think about Hronek, right, when we think about the trade, when we think about the swing that the team took, I'd contextualize it as a deal that was counterintuitive given where the team was positioned. And while it's worked out, there was a reason that like Chychrun moved thereafter and other teams started trading their defensemen. It's because the Canucks paid a high market price and other sellers were interested in that price. Like, it was a big swing and overpayment. And now this is a market rate deal. And yet no one cares, nor should they, because of how well Hronek fit and what he contributed to this dream 50-win Canucks campaign. I think there's signal here, Rick, in terms of what awaits the Canucks this offseason, right? Another big swing, a willingness to overpay to land the right fit. Do you see the right fit out there on the market? Do you think I'm on to something in terms of this club's ambition to do something big in the coming weeks?
Well, and the big one is Gensel, and we'll get into Gensel in a bit, but the Canucks had $25 million in cap space. Now they got 17. If you give 9 to Gensel, that leaves $8 million for Lindholm, Joshua, Zadorov, Myers, and Bluger. Now, I think we all know Lindholm's not coming back, but I do want to give you a couple of updates. I don't think there's anything new on Zadorov this morning, but I was told that agent Dan Milstein is willing to be patient and open-minded. If Zadorov leaves, I think that it's not going to go over well with the fan base, because he did get a ton of new fans for his playoff performance. We all know that. But the fact that Milstein is being patient with the Canucks tells you everything you need to know in that negotiation. He hasn't walked away. He hasn't said we're going to July 1st. He wants to be patient. He wants to be open-minded. His client wants to return to Vancouver. The big thing with Zadorov is, can they find the money? If they can move Mikheyev, you can find the money. But right now it's tough. Same with Joshua. They are hoping to get a deal done. Both sides want to get it done. They continue to talk with Bluger. With Lindholm gone, the want and desire to get him back is there. Tyler Myers, work still to do, but you know they're doing their homework on July 1st, guys. You know they're doing their homework on July 1st on if so-and-so leaves, how can we replace so-and-so. There are so many gymnastics involved here with the Canucks in terms of so many moves that possibly could happen. I shouldn't have eaten that banana before I went on with you guys. But listen, a lot of stuff. I tried every time I come on with you, I sneak in 2 bananas. I shouldn't have done it, but I did it. But listen, a lot of stuff could happen with the Canucks. A lot of stuff. Go, Donnie, help me out.
Yeah, they don't want a monkey around. Jake Gensel, I know you talked a lot about that during our show, Rick.
Yep.
With Jake Gensel and what he might command, $9 million a year. It's hard getting past the banana talk here. Okay. But what will that mean for the 4 key UFAs they have? And but I think I don't know how you guys feel about this, Thomas, but Gensel and his relationship to helping Elias Pettersson on the wing there, and is that more of a priority than keeping that size on defense?
Oh, there's no question that this organization's top priority is to level up the offensive ability of this team, right? I think they're close. I think they think they're close. And what does Jim Rutherford do? What do Jim Rutherford teams do when they're close? The answer is add an established star-level scoring winger or forward, right? Your Doug Waite tier guy, your Phil Kessel tier guy. If you think you're close, that tends to be the piece that Rutherford has added in the past. And I guarantee you, given the 3 Stanley Cup rings on his dresser, that's going to be powerful in terms of informing this club's thinking. Gensel's a star. Gensel's a star. I think if you get him for less than 11, it's a perfectly reasonable deal. He's that level of player, in my view. Just want to add some context into what Rick said. The sense I'm getting is that on Joshua and Zadorov in particular, the kind of active word is they're hard reads, right? It's a hard read because in the case of both players, the market for both, given their uniqueness, is going to be exceptionally robust. And yet, I think there is an understanding and a mutual sense that, hey, if they could stay in Vancouver, everyone would love that. The team would love that. The players would love that. But there's a certain number at which it makes sense. Yeah.
Donnie and I heard that, the exit meetings were great, where everybody said they want to come back. And this was how many exit meetings in the last 10 years in this city do you think where the exit meetings were like, can't wait to come back. Oh, don't let me go. Are you kidding? Everybody wants. Here's my concern right now, and I'm going to tell you this much right now on Joshua and Zadorov. Do not tell me that Rick Tocchet is doing cartwheels about losing those 2 guys, because he's not. Because you know why? They are Rick Tocchet type guys. They play the game the way Tocchet did. And the Vancouver Canucks were hard to play against this year, and especially in the playoffs, because of guys like Dakota, who led the NHL in hits before Game 7. I think after Game 7 too, because he had 9 in Game 7. And Zadorov drove the Oilers nuts. They were hard to play against. I don't think Tocchet wants to lose these 2 guys, but I think that he might have to lose them. I don't know how it's going to end up, Donnie.
It'll be interesting to see what the market reaction will be if they indeed sign Jake Gensel, who you mentioned is a star, Thomas. No question about it. I think we can all agree on that. But if it's at the expense of losing that size on defense and that nastiness that they showed in the playoffs, people love that. Now they didn't get through 2 rounds. You have to remember that. But it'll be interesting to see what the reaction is, because nobody wants to see the Canucks get pushed around. That wasn't the case this season.
No.
And I think people loved that. If they lose that, I wonder what the reaction will be.
And guys, one more thing. There is concern right now about 2020, the bubble. They lost Tanev, Toffoli, Markstrom, Stetcher. Not just those 4 guys, but they lost a ton of leadership, which they did not replace. Chris Tanev was never replaced, never mind on the ice, but he was never replaced in the importance of him in the dressing room and for culture. At culture reasons, Chris Tanev, his departure killed this franchise. And again, you lose 4 or 5 guys like this, that's going to hurt. It's really going to hurt. There are worries about, a 2020 situation.
But, Rick, wasn't one of the main things in 2020 not just that they lost those players, but the way it happened, right? Oh, we ran out of time, the lack of communication.
Yeah.
I think in this instance, they've
mismanagement.
But this time they're trying to re-sign the players, right? You're not going to be able to say, oh, they screwed it up, they botched it. If those guys leave, it's going to be because they're investing significant money in a player like Jake Gensel, right? I think that's very different than, oh, man, we just ran out of time and we screwed up and let these guys go.
They're going to be hard to keep, though, right?
Okay.
That's kind of my sense of it, Rick, is that the organization understands that they're going to be hard guys to keep.
Okay, we got to let you guys go.
You know why they put them?
Okay.
We were told to wrap it up at 12:20.
We're going to say something. We're having some fun here.
Keep it going. Keep it. Who told you to cut us off, Dom?
Dom did.
They did. Yeah.
Who's Dom?
Just some guy.
Okay,
some
I see
guy.
what you mean. Yeah, no. That
He's
guy's
the
a whack
Lisan
job.
El-Gaib.
You're going to make a point.
What's?
You see, we did say 12:20, but we have so much fun with you guys.
No,
that
I
it's
lost
tough to leave.
But I lost.
I'm just
my
trying to be a good teammate.
Well,
all right. Donnie, you go. Donnie, talk.
no, I can't remember what I was going to say.
I lost my train of
I know.
thought.
Well, I was going to say about Gensel. I think we brought it up before. You've got Pedersen making 11-6. Rick calls him 11-6 all the time.
Of course. Yeah.
Donnie
Pedersen making 11-6. You've invested this guy in this guy for 8 years.
Yeah.
And the general thinking is you got to keep him happy with a winger like Gensel. Is that more important than that size and edge? What an interesting time this is going to be in the next few weeks.
I don't want to lose that, guys. I don't want to lose that size, the edge, the
Or your train of
hardness, the hardness to play against. But Thomas, you say that it's going to be hard to retain these guys, but you got to put yourself in their shoes. They've done so much to deserve big raises, and the problem the Canucks have is all the Canucks free agents is that all the free agents help the Canucks have their best year in 14 years. So you know what, Tom? They got their hand out for a raise. That's the problem right now, and nobody wants to take a pay cut other than Myers. That's the problem they have, Thomas.
But the thing I would say, hold on, Dritz. Yeah, the thing I would say,
like a problem. Good for them.
Is I agree about the size, but Zadorov and Joshua aren't the only big players in the league, right? Like, there are other guys with size. There are other guys that play physically. Look, would it be great to keep those players? They were great for you. Rick Tocchet loves them, of course. But the thing this management has shown is they can get creative finding players like that, right? Zadorov was a midseason addition. Well, Joshua was a under $1 million signing. I'm fine with them prioritizing Gensel and then using creative ways like they've shown in the past to go add that size element again.
What did Patrick Allvin say at the end of the season? He said, I don't even know if this was a slip-up, Thomas, but he said our job is to find the next Dakota Joshua.
He's not going to find the next Dakota Joshua before September.
Right. There are other players out there. Okay, another position, but we talk about Brendan Dillon a lot. He's somebody who clearly wants to come here.
They're not finding the next Joshua by September. If he thinks he is, if he thinks he's finding the next Joshua by September, he's out to lunch. He's not going to do that. It took Joshua 2 years in Vancouver to become what he became.
Yeah, he's one of
one. And Thomas, you yourself said, you said earlier this week on the radio that Joshua, you're not going to find that guy in 2 or 3 or 4, 5 or 6 weeks, and there's nobody on the market. I believe if they lose Joshua, keep an eye on Jordan Martinook. That's a guy that I think that could help fill in. But Jordan Martin, he's not
Former Vancouver Giant.
Former Vancouver Giant.
Yeah.
By the way, a second-round pick of the
rocks.
Giants. He was really good. He was a bit of a late bloomer in the Western Hockey League, and he's had a fabulous career. Nobody ever talks about him. But Jordan's asking for he's not. You're not going to get him at $1 or $2 million either.
Hey guys, it's 12:23. What's going on? We're supposed to be out of here at 12:20.
My parking. I got to go. My parking. Let's go. I'm gonna get a parking ticket.
Let the record show. I tried to get you guys out of here by 12:20. Rick, go get your parking taken care of. Have another banana. Yeah. Donnie, go enjoy your day. Thanks for doing this, fellas.
Yes.
Go ride a sandworm,
Thank
bud.
you. Thanks, guys.
That is Don Taylor and Rick Dhaliwal from Donnie and Dhali on Check TV. You can watch them 10 to noon Monday to Friday on Check. The crossover brought to you by Basant Motors, powering the playoff drive, home of over 400 pre-owned vehicles and where the players go.